Hi guys, Daniel here from the Daniel Eigenman Broker Forum. I hope you're having a beautiful Friday. Today I'm talking to my friend Brett Weinbrecht of Newchoice Homes, and I wanted to have a chat to him about construction. I talk to a lot of clients that, as a home buyer, you got a choice. You can either buy an established house or you can build your own house. You can be a first home buyer, you can be an upsizer. There's a lot of options there, and my experience is that a lot of people, when they think about constructions, they are overwhelmed. There's a lot of choice, there's a lot of advertising on TV, and then they are just confused. So I thought I'd just sit down with Brett today. Brett, thank you very much for being on the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
That's all right, that's all right. And Brett has been in the business for quite a few years now, and there's no better person to talk about construction than Brett. So Brett, welcome to the show. What I would like to do today is to ask you about the advice that you would give to someone looking at building a house. And imagine that the advice you give is to your best friend, all right?
Okay.
So what advice would you give to your best friend if he said to you, hey Brett, I want to build my own house? What would you suggest?
Right, well, I think you've sort of already mentioned, out there in the market it's extremely overwhelming with the amount of information that, the general buyer receives. You're going to speak to a great deal of different people, you're going to get a great deal of different information, and at the end of the day everyone's extremely overwhelmed, and what it does is it results into a bit of stress, and suddenly building becomes more of a negative thing than a positive thing at times, which is something that we want to completely deter. We want to make building an extremely exciting process.
Yep.
So
an enjoyable experience, yes, because it is, you're building the house of hopefully of your dreams.
Exactly.
You've chosen building because you want to have your own mark on the house.
Yep.
So you wanted to make it as enjoyable as possible.
Absolutely. So it kind of really does bring it back to the questions that you might ask or what you're going to look for in a certain builder. So the first thing that I always say is you really want to get a good feel for that particular type of builder. You want to get a bit of, trust. You want to feel that what they're saying and the experience that they have is backed up, and the information that you're getting is, real information that you trust. So you have a good, gut feeling with the person that you're speaking to.
So Brett, that's the builder itself, but that's also the person you're talking to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
It has to work two ways at the end of the day. But if I was to ask a good friend of mine what they would be looking for, I would really bring them back to the quality. It's really important that obviously the quality reflects in what you're purchasing.
Okay.
So with that quality, it's really closely associated to the value. So I'm really looking for value when I'm looking for things, and value can also come back to price as well.
So you're looking at the quality of the build.
Absolutely, quality is definitely.
And what does that mean in a house? Obviously, the skeleton has got to be built correctly, so you don't see cracks. As soon as you move in.
Yeah.
It's the quality of also the fixtures that you put in. Obviously, you have a choice about that. Depends on your budget.
Yeah.
And I guess when you move in or when you sell your property, you will see, or a buyer will see the quality or how much you spend on quality products.
Definitely. When we're talking quality, we're not just talking about the product itself. That's just one element. We're building something completely from scratch here.
Okay.
So we're looking at the quality in terms of the products that we're purchasing these products from, the warranties behind a lot of these products, in terms of the services that we have here in Perth. We're looking at the tradesmen. That's probably one of the biggest ticket items, is that we're really looking to make sure that your house is built, to a high standard, to a high construction standard that complies Australian standards, absolutely, and beyond.
Okay.
And then the rest comes down to really the production and the service that you're going to receive during the construction process. So if you don't have any building industry background experience, or you're not too sure about a lot of the things, you really are putting a lot of trust in somebody else's hands.
Yep.
To making sure that they're going to deliver what you hope that you're getting. And
so
what you think
how do you
getting.
find out? I mean, obviously, trust is, are you going to deliver on what you promise? Are you going to deliver on what I've paid for? I'm going to ask you, how do you find that out, or information about that? And probably we can talk quickly about reviews, how satisfied your past clients were. But it's also about being comfortable enough to ask questions. And I always say, in my meetings with clients at any stage, I always say there are no stupid questions. And I see my job, a big job of mine is to guide borrowers, and it's to educate them as well. So, and I always say there's no stupid question. I imagine with a trustworthy builder, it would be the same as well. Because if you've never done it, and you hear all those horror stories,
Yeah.
but you still want to build. You want to be comfortable with the person you're talking to. You want to be able to ask all the questions, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. We can't expect the client to know how to build if they're not.
You probably don't want to.
The more they want to know, the more they can know. It's fine.
They're not all about the small print.
No, it's fine. But look, we don't expect you to know. That's our job to not only deliver on what we promise, but to also educate you in terms of what we are doing. A lot of that will reflect back to even during construction. So you're going to get a client liaison officer.
Okay.
A client liaison officer is there to provide you with information up to date, and then he or she will work alongside with their site supervisor. The site supervisor is the one on site organising the trades, making sure everything's done to the highest standard that it should be. And they're there to sort of educate you also what's happening during construction. My job, I guess, I come from the sales background, so I'm at the very beginning. I'm the first person you'll see during this whole journey.
Okay.
So I'm sort of really setting the standards or the direction in terms of what clients should expect along the process. And I guess a lot of the people are making decisions based on what I'm telling them, because I'm at the very front.
Okay.
They're not going to meet the team later. They're not going to know what was promised.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is what they get. So that brings it back to the trust factor.
Yeah.
That comes in with the trust factor, and you relate the trust factor with experience.
Okay.
So you get that experience, and that experience is then related to reviews, which is what you mentioned earlier,
So,
which is just one indication. Obviously, awards and everything else.
I mean, you showed me the reviews this morning. You got an average of 4.5 on a site called Product Reviews.
Yes.
4.5 over 137 reviews, and there are genuine reviews. No, because
they're genuine.
It can be used as a marketing trick, and some businesses, in all industries, have been caught. And I think there's a hefty fine if you've been caught fudging your reviews. The thing that I wanted to quickly talk about is when you first sit down with a new client, or before even they become a client, you work out what their objectives are. You go through a wish list, and you're really trying to understand what they want, isn't it? Because that's the opportunity of building a new house.
Yeah, look, it's an easier process for me to just tell you that this is what I think you should have, and you go with the standard product that doesn't, maybe take a lot of my resources or time. That's a bad sales consultant. That's somebody that's not really listening.
Okay.
That's somebody that's just doing something to make their job easier.
And just selling you a product on the shelf, pretty much.
Yeah, let's scrap that. Let's take that completely out of
Okay.
the picture. What we really should be doing is listening to our clients. We should be listening to our clients and asking them questions about how they're going to use the home, what they intend to do with the home, and that will ultimately reflect on how we're going to design your home and what we think is the best home for you. So these questions are about, how many bedrooms and bathrooms do you want?
Okay.
Do you want your master bedroom at the front? Do you want it at the back? Do you have visitors, mum and dad? Do they come from overseas to visit? Do you need
Put them
a
at the
guest
back.
room? Put them at the back.
Back of the house. Yeah.
Do you need to go? Do you run a business from your home?
Oh, right, okay, yeah, yeah.
Are you looking? Do you have views from your home? There's so many aspects, and that's just how the information we draw from the client. The other aspect is how our design team delve into it even further. So our design team come in and they want to look at the solar orientation. Which way is the sunlight coming in? Which way are we facing? North, south, east, west? How does that affect the solar passive orientation of the home? There's a whole lot of aspects.
Whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, we really delve into it.
Well, let's have a quick chat about price, because in this market, obviously, like in my industry as a finance broker, the first thing I get asked is, what's your best rate? And as you know, there's a best rate for the products that you have access to, and in most cases you don't have access to everything, and some of the rates that you see on TV might be great rates, but if you actually read the fine print, they're not available to you either now or ever. So it's really my job is to make sure I find out what's best for you, or what the best rate is for what you can have access to, what you need. And I imagine you get the same question about price. I've seen this house next door for $200,000. What can you do?
Yeah, absolutely. And because there's so much product on the market, it's very hard for somebody who doesn't have building experience or knows that sort of background to how to pick one over the other in terms of, why is one costing me this much and one's costing me this much? Yeah. Am I getting the same thing or is it different? Look, at the end of the day, Newchoice Homes, we're extremely competitive on price. We're extremely aware of what we need to do at the end of the day, but we really push back to value for money. We're delivering value for money. And when we say delivering value for money, the standards with our tradesmen and the products that we use and where we're getting them from are such a high standard at such a good value for price. There are builders out there that particularly may not be so fussed on the particular products that go into their home or don't have such high standard construction methods. Can you expect to pay a top dollar for that, or would you expect to pay less for that? And is that how you justify your pricing? So at the end of the day, that's really how you got to be looking at it.
Yes.
There's so many. You go buy a car, that they'll advertise you that car or a piece of clothing, and you're looking at that piece of clothing or the piece of that car. We're doing a house. Now you tell me how many products are going to a house.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Yeah.
How many tradesmen are touching that house? And how many people are involved in actually doing that? This is a massive project. So there are so many aspects that contributes to price. But all aside, what we're delivering, what we look for is value. We're delivering that value for money.
And I guess it's value. There's different value for different objectives and purposes. If you're building a house for you to live in for the next 20 years, it's going to be probably different than if you're building a house to rent out. You want to build a house that can be easily rented out without too much maintenance. So the quality, the quality of the fixtures, for example, your landscaping, for example, will be different. So it's really understanding exactly what you want, and a good builder will say, okay, listen, based on what you want, these are the best values. And as you said, it's not just price, it's about expectations, about features, about locations, about everything. So really what's important for you when you're looking at building a new house is really understand, first of all, what you want, what you're looking for, and then go out and compare different offering, isn't it? I mean, you want to do that.
Look, I'm in the sales side, so obviously I'm selling the homes. I built like anybody else, and for me to know that I'm getting value, I have to get more than one quote.
That's right.
At the end of the day, I'm not expecting somebody to come and just, I want to build with Newchoice, let's just go with Newchoice. At the end of the day, we want to prove to our clients that they are receiving the value and that they are getting that quality at the end of the day. So we completely understand that everybody has to shop around.
Okay. No, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, Brett, thank you very much for your time. I think everyone's got a lot of